And Japleen, and I'll start with you. How easy or difficult has it, actually easy galat ho gaya. How difficult has it been, and what have been the most difficult challenges to be doing the kind of work that you do, reporting the way you do, getting the information that you need, especially from the right gaze and the right narrative point of view? बिकॉज मतलब औरतों की कहानी बहुत सारे लोग लिखते हैं, औरतों के बारे में बहुत कुछ लिखा जाता है, बट लाइक मनीषा सेड कि आप क्या कह रहे हैं, किसके संदर्भ में कह रहे हैं, किसकी गेज में कह रहे हैं, दैट इज़ वेयर इट स्टार्ट्स बिकमिंग द क्रिटिकल पॉलिटिक्स that we need when gender is being spoken of or when women are being spoken of.
Hi everyone, glad to be here. And मेरी डेजिग्नेशन में आजकल मैं इंडिपेंडेंट जर्नलिस्ट लिखती हूँ, फ्रीलांस नहीं लिखती हूँ, बिकॉज द मोमेंट यू राइट फ्रीलांस देयर इज ऑलवेज द डेंजर हाफ द न्यूज रूम्स थिंक दैट यू वर्क फॉर फ्री, which is very annoying, but that's not the case. So just briefly, I've had a unique advantage actually being in this industry. Like Rajshri, I also come from a small town called Asansol in Bengal. How many of you have heard of the name? Oh, that's a lot. Very good. We actually had a minister from Asansol, Babul Supriyo, till recently in the cabinet. But, and also I'm a first generation journalist in the whole family. So no godfathers, no surnames, no privileges when I came into the industry. And in these, I'm completing 20 years in journalism in April this year. So, wow, feels like a lifetime. In these 20 years, I've actually had the advantage of working with leading English and Hindi newsrooms. India Today, Aaj Tak, CNN IBN, IBN7, TV9 Bharatvarsh, Doordarshan. I worked with the Tribune, and with all these organizations, I worked as a foreign policy editor. I worked as a prime-time anchor, anchoring shows in English and Hindi. Why I'm saying this is because, and I've also worked with editors of all shades. I worked with absolutely professional editors who have had my back, who have stood by the stories that I've done. I've also worked with malleable editors with whom I have had crazy fights. One of them actually expected me to go and ambush Condoleezza Rice, who was the then US Secretary of State, and my channel that I was working for was just a year old. I was just 3 years old into the industry. So he told me, आप झाड़ के पीछे wait कर सकती थी, and I thought the next thing you know is I'll become a photo frame in your office, because the snipers will take me down. So I'm sorry, thank you for having that faith in me, but I am not going to comply with that mad expectation. So I think, the point is that coming to your first question that you asked, beyond the political and the personal, yes, the number of women in the newsrooms in media are high today. There are women who are doing excellent job, and not just talking about other women, other genders, but when you see editors, foreign policy, defense, some of the finest editors who are writing on politics are actually women, because they're moving away from the toxicity, the masculinity that a lot of male editors bring to the newsroom. Yeah. So there are editors. Unfortunately, the editor-in-chiefs, we hardly have 1 or 2 names to go by, and some of these names are also people who've basically inherited the legacy, iconic newsrooms and have made sure to try and reduce it to complete ashes today. Which is so sad, which is also a case in point that just because women are rising up the ladder, it's not necessary that they're bringing about that amount of change, because that change has to begin from within. Unless you as an individual do not have the conviction that you want to do the right thing. How many of you have any inspiration, dream of actually coming into journalism eventually? A lot of young students.
Very few.
Very few. I'm so relieved. You're on the right path. Stay there. This is not the time right now to come into journalism. But I used to roam around. Literally, my friends used to be worried. When you're a rookie reporter, and people are rookies in all profession, not just in the newsrooms. When you are starting out in your career, the first 2-3 years, as Rajshri said, she used to happily sign up for any script that was coming her way. Ki pata nahi aur aayega, nahi aayega. You do that. Nobody is judging you for that. But when you start getting a foot into any industry and building into any expertise that you have, but you're not able to find the courage to speak up, speak out, after 4-5 years of having spent time, then the problem lies within you too. It's not just about the ecosystem. My friends used to be so worried कि यार तूने फिर resign कर दिया, तो फिर resignation letter लेकर घूम रही है. They used to equate me with Mamta Banerjee. Mamta जब जाती थी वाजपेयी जी के पास में, she would always say कि ये रहा मेरे resignation letter. So, and I have had issues. So When you see today news anchors, they are celebrated anchors, they are super status anchors. उनकी आप इंस्टा फीड देख लो तो समझ में नहीं आता है कि आप उनकी फीड देख रहे हो कि दीपिका की फीड देख रहे हो. उनकी इस तरह की celebrity status है. But it's not necessary that these anchors and senior editors are getting a call every day from the top offices, from the Prime Minister's office or the Home Minister's office कि आज आपको मंदिर मस्जिद लड़ाई करनी है, कि आज आपको इन दलितों के खिलाफ आपको लड़ाई करनी है. That you need to go out there and you completely need to make a fool of your profession and of journalism. No, it doesn't happen. It is happening because most of these people have built it into an inner conviction, which is absolutely unfortunate. They have started to believe that either this is the ideology that they need to cater to, or that this is what is going to give them eyeballs. So, until and unless you're not able to find that voice within at some stage in your careers, regardless of what career you choose, you will not be able to break through the different hurdles that people will keep putting in your way. So I just hope that all of you find that courage inside.
Yeah, and to take from what you just said to Japlin, because the whole idea and the way we talk about women, talk about genders, cannot be also binary in the way we look at it. Not just from the fluidity of gender, but the need for intersectionality from a caste, class, religion, ability, sexuality, all of those spectrums. And feminism in India began with a vision of creating that alternate space where narratives like these could come in. And I mean, the reason why I can talk about FII like this is because I was one of the first contributors to FII. But what I really want to know is, how did you realize that that alternate was needed? And what has it taken for the alternate to now become mainstream? Because that is the other most critical world in which we are in. And I think that's what's common between everybody here. What is always touted to be the alternate, pushed into one corner, is now becoming mainstream. And the more all of us sort of support what was called the alternate and make it mainstream, is when you will have more and more narratives come up, right? So with that, Japlin, over to you, and then again, we'll go around the table.
Thank you, Soumya, and thank you, everyone. Very interesting that you asked me this question.
Yeah, it is.
Because I have a new colleague with me who just asked me, so how did you start FII? And I'm like, oh God, this question again. And, but I want to share that, you know, I was your age, the people who are sitting here, I was about 22, 23, and I actually do not come from a journalism background. I have never called myself a journalist, and I'm